Hello, America, and welcome to the Zach Halcox Show. Whenever I say that, I feel like either I'm talking to, actually America, or, just three people. Regardless or not, we have a new intro, so hey, do you like the new intro? It's great. So, here's something, first of all, I'm going to talk about myself. I'm going to talk about the show. The show it's going to an amazing place. We get almost 100 plays per day. We're almost at 100 plays per day. In the last 7 days, we release 3 times a week on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The show is growing in. It's amazing. And I know it's God's plan for me to do this show, for it to be more than just a show, for it to be a movement, for it to be my business. And I really feel that is what God is doing, and it is amazing what you guys have been doing, being able to share the show, listen, follow, do all these things that I ask you to do, because it means a lot to me, and it helps out the show, and it gives people more of a drive to really try to do something, to actually make a difference. So we're starting out today. It seems like every day there's some sort of new terror attack going on. Some sort of new terror attack that you have heard of. This time, a woman was stabbed in France. London has boosted up its police response, with armed police on the streets today after a 19-year-old Norwegian citizen of Somali descent stabbed and killed a U.S. woman in her 60s and injured 5 others in central London's Russell Square at 10:30 p.m. Wednesday night, as reported. The 5 injured people were British American, Israeli, Australian, but none are thought to have suffered life-threatening injuries, obviously, except for the person who was killed. 2 of the injured victims remain in a hospital, while 3 others have been charged. The attacker was arrested on the scene and remains in police custody on suspicion of murder. Another headline today. Gay Syrian refugee beheaded in Istanbul. A gay Syrian refugee found beheaded in Istanbul had previously been kidnapped and raped, his friends said. Mohammed Wasim Sankari, known to his friends as Wasim, vanished after leaving his house in the district of Aksaray on July 23rd. He was found dead 2 days later, a mile away from his home. His flatmate, Gorkum, who went to identify his body, told the Turkish LGBT magazine Kauskal, he said they had cut Wasim violently, so violently that 2 knives had broken inside of him. They had beheaded him and beat him. His upper body was beyond recognition. His internal organs were out. We could identify our friend from his pants. Another headline out today. $400 million sent to Iran to free hostages. Our president, just in the middle of the night, decides to send $400 million to Iran as a bribe to release American citizens. But he says it's for something different. But nobody believes that. He says it's from a 1979 dispute. However, it just so happens that prisoners were released at the same time. So there's prisoners, and they send in John Kerry, because he was in the military and blah, blah, blah. He's such an expert. And then ends up that our president sends $400 million in the middle of the night to Iran, and these people are released. But he says it wasn't for, the release of them. But last time, which it has been proven that it was for that. Now this happened back apparently in January. So he's saying that this happened back in January. However, this is just being brought to light now. Why? Because when the truth comes up, and things that have been said or were done, the truth will always win out in the situation. This is what happened. The truth won. We know that the president was lying, just as he has many times. What do all of these headlines have in common? They all have in common hate. Iran. All they do, they hate America. They want us all dead. London, there was the stabbing done by a Muslim or an Islamist. He may be an Islamist. And I mean, I'm not going to go out and say that he did do this because he is an Islamist and wants to kill people, but I'm saying that I believe that there was a tie to that. And the one about the gay Syrian refugee beheaded in Istanbul. See, here's what happened. ISIS controls all of Syria. So all these people are leaving Syria. Now, most people in Syria are Muslim. However, the radicalized Muslims, they call themselves Islamists. This is where we're different. This is, the president always says, he says, oh, well, we have to dispute the notion that that ISIS is a Muslim group, or that they're terrorist or Islamic. Because he says, well, that's not what they stand for. However, at the same time, when one tiny group of Christians say something about a person who has a wiener and dresses like a woman going into a woman's restroom, and they have a problem with that, they don't agree with that idea, and they say they don't agree with that idea. Somehow they're the person who is, they're treated like they are a terrorist, like they hate somebody, like, like the thing where if you don't bake a gay wedding, if you don't bake a wedding cake for a gay wedding, well, then you're a terrible person. But there's plenty of Muslim bakeries, I bet, who would refuse to make a wedding cake for a gay wedding. Why? Because they too believe that it is wrong. And then we have to have people who have to stand up and basically, like on a subway, some guy standing up and yelling about God. Yes, it is good to talk about God. However, I don't think that standing up and yelling about it is going to be the best way possible. That's not the most profitable, I guess, for lack of a better term. It's not the best way to do that. It's not anything that makes sense. But where are we different from the Islamists? Well, we stand for life. They don't like life. ISIS wants us all dead. They believe that they are to take over the world and either convert people to Islam or kill them. And in the process, they believe that they are actually trying to lead up to the Battle of Armageddon. They believe that they are fulfilling an ancient prophecy put forth by them, by Allah. I've heard people say, well, Allah translates to God, so we're all worshiping the same God. Okay, well, I don't worship a God that wants me to kill people because they don't believe the same thing as me. I don't worship a God who says that I have to kill people because they're gay. I don't worship a God who says that we have to kill people because they looked at me wrong. I don't worship a God who says that we have to make our women only make the best macaroni and cheese or sandwiches, or else we have to kill them. Besides that, I don't like the color of her eyes. I mean, if I don't like the color of her eyes, you might as well forget it. I might as well just kill her right then and there. Just behead her. So, here's what's going on. Just like in the last show, recently, I was talking about what's going on in Germany. If you haven't heard last week's episode, or if you haven't heard our previous episode, just go to it, listen to it, and I will talk, in that I talk about what is going on in Germany. And what's going on in Istanbul is exactly like what's going on in Germany. What's going on there? Well, all these people are coming there. These Muslims are leaving Syria, going to other countries. So what's going on? Well, in Istanbul, you have the Islamists, like the extreme crazy Muslims, and the normal ones. So then, when you put those together, just like Fox News says they're supposed to be fair and balanced, Istanbul says we're going to be fair and we're going to be balanced, and we're going to let our citizens live with the Islamists. So here's what happens. And then they also say, well, we're going to bring Syrian refugees in. So here's what happens. You have this issue where you have the ancient Muslim ancient religion of Islam, and you have the newer version of Islam that makes sense. And then what happens is they see, oh, well, he's gay. Okay, well, we're going to have to kill him. So they kill him. That is what's going on in Germany, in Istanbul, all of these European countries are having these issues. Why? Because people refuse to accept the idea that maybe there are some crazy people. Maybe there are some crazy Muslims that want us all dead. But we shouldn't acknowledge that. Because we live in a world, somehow, where we have to apparently accept all things. I've always joked that I want to marry my dog. However, some people have thought that I am serious. One of these days, I will marry my dog. Why? Why do I say that? Well, because when I say that, it makes the idea of, well, you hear, well, that's crazy. Why would you want to marry your dog? Okay, well, why would we let men go into women's restrooms just because they dress like a woman and they think they're a woman? You see the logic there? Some people would say that's flawed logic. However, that's not flawed logic. There's a reason why there are different body parts. Well, there's people with both body parts. Yes, I understand there are people with both body parts. And however I understand that, we do know that scientifically there are genders. Why? Based on body parts. However, people a lot of times, they tend to say that Christians deny science. Well, why? Because science has a lot of error in it. Science is a big crapshoot. Basically, in science, you can say whatever you want. And it can be real. So, and that's also similar to Common Core, where 2 plus 2 does not equal 4. 2 plus 2 equals a man and a woman. 2 plus 2, well, you can't say a man and a woman because that's bad. And that's another thing. A lot of people say, well, schools are making kids gay or bisexual. Do you think so? I don't think so. But Common Core is the idea that anything can be anything. It doesn't matter, there's no right or wrong answers. So, if I want to be a woman with big breasts and black, I can do that. And all I have to do is make my skin a lot darker. I just have to get a really, really, really dark tan. And then I can say that I'm black. And be like that Rachel Dolezal lady. And say that I'm black. I identify with the black experience. Well, here's the thing. With her, in a way, being white and being really, really dark and saying that you're black, in a way, is kind of the most racist thing you can do. Just like if you were black and you got your skin bleached so you could be white, and you say, oh, I'm white. I identify with the white experience. That also is one of the most racist things you can do. In a way, it is very, very racist. In a weird kind of strange way. In preparing for the show, I usually go to 180report.com. 180report.com is an amazing website. It shows you the headlines from a Republican point of view. And then you click this thing up in the corner, the right-hand corner, and it changes to the headlines and stories according to the liberal side. and that's pretty interesting. I go to that website all the time to be able to find different things to talk about on the show. It's a lot better than the Drudge Report. Drudge Report has just gone to crap these days. And that is a great website to be able to go to. They send you can sign up to get daily emails about what's going on. They'll give you the lowdown on what's going on. And I love those, and it is a very, very great tool for the show, and I think everybody should be using this website. Most websites are either they're too left or they're too right. This is both. This actually is fair and balanced, unlike Fox News, where they say we're fair and balanced, but then to them, fair and balanced is just they bring on two people with opposite opinions and just fight. Go to 180report.com. It's a great website. I use it every day. 180report.com.
The Zach Halcox Show.
Have joy, speak truth on the Cobalt Radio Network.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Obama says Donald Trump's suggestion that the U.S. election progress is rigged is off base.
Of course the elections will not be rigged. What does that mean?
That was the president's reaction to a question about Trump's concern about a fair election process. Trump said this week that elections are rigged after several states repealed laws that restricted the types of voter IDs that would be widely accepted at polling stations. But Mr. Obama wasn't buying it.
That's ridiculous. That doesn't make any sense, and I don't think anybody would take that seriously.
Greg Clugston, the White House.
Meanwhile, House Speaker Paul Ryan is warning that his endorsement of GOP presidential nominee Donald Trump is not a blank check.
Asked if there are situations that would cause him to withdraw his endorsement, Ryan answered, quote, "Of course there are." Ryan tells Green Bay radio station WTAQ that he'll continue to defend Republican principles, but he added he would not get into speculation or hypotheticals. The two have been on different pages since Trump refused to endorse Ryan's re-election bid. That followed an awkward dance during which Ryan, at first, refused to endorse Trump.
Capitol Hill correspondent Wally Hines reporting. Meanwhile, Trump is praising House Speaker Ryan, whom he's thus far declined to endorse in his primary race. Trump told supporters at a rally in Maine today that Paul Ryan's a good guy. Trump said in an interview this week that he's just not quite there yet when it comes to endorsing Ryan, who has not shied away from criticizing the Republican nominee on a number of issues. A federal health official says aerial spraying of the insecticide Naled is killing many mosquitoes in a Miami neighborhood where the insects apparently transmitted Zika to 15 people. Dr. Tom Frieden says aerial spraying started today. Puerto Rico's governor wouldn't authorize Naled's use because of environmental concerns, despite widespread Zika infections there. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 3 points, the Nasdaq up 7. This is SRN News.
Donald Trump continues to dominate.
State
Thousands of
all
people
the way around the convention
Biggest
center,
crowd today.
surging in the polls. Far out.
More than double. Resort will be out.
Trump is different. He's his own man.
totally fearless. He cannot be
He's the
stopped.
last hope for America.
The silent majority is back.
I came to hear Donald Trump's business plan for America.
It's really cool to hear him actually speak the truth. Sounds like it is. America great.
As a guy who's an international student, Trump is speaking out the truth.
He wants to make America great, and that's what I want to.
What's more fun than a Trump rally, right? We have a country that we're proud of and that we love and that we're not going to lose. There is an assault on everything that we stand for, and we're going to stop the assault.
We have a movement going on, folks.
20,000 people in Dallas, 35,000 in Mobile, Alabama. This whole arena packed, and we're sending people away.
We're winning in Iowa, New Hampshire,
South Carolina,
North Carolina,
Florida,
Texas. It's been wild.
His passion is the fabric of America. Work ethic, dreams, drive, and faith in the Almighty. Are you all ready to make America great again?
We're going to bring back our country. We're going to bring our jobs back. We're going to bring our manufacturing back. We're going to start winning again. The silent majority. It's back, and it's not silent. We're tired of being pushed around by incompetent people, and it's going to change. You are going to be so proud of your country again. You're going to remember this evening, and you're going to say to your children that we were part of a movement to take back our country. We will make America great again.
Welcome back to the show. Let's talk politics for a little bit, I guess. So it seems like Hillary Clinton is, she's always a horrible, I wouldn't say horrible person. I don't know her personally, but I would say that she tends to be very manipulative. She lies a lot, and it's just not good. In 1970, this story cannot be used enough. In 1970, a man was on trial for raping a 12-year-old girl. Hillary had just become a lawyer, and she was assigned to the job. She didn't want to do it, but she wanted to win. So what did she do? Well, she made sure that she won by destroying evidence, changing official documents, basically crossing legal boundaries to make this man look innocent, even though she knew that he was guilty. He went free. In 2014, a person interviewed the young girl who was raped. And audio was played to her that had Hillary Clinton laughing about what had happened. That she got away with it. She let the guy get away with it. And that was not okay, because we can't just have rapists running around our country free. We have more... We have some big problems in our country. I don't know. I honestly, I don't know who's going to win the election. I've said Donald Trump is going to win the election. Out of all of them, I hope Donald Trump wins the election. And I know that the Libertarians, oh my God, I thought the Libertarians were supposed to be different. But the Libertarians, they're just as bad, if not worse, than both parties. Both parties are completely messed up. Both parties need to be just... there's some things that need to be changed about them. And so the Democrats, they just lie all the time. That's what they do. That is part of their thing, is that they lie. They manipulate people to get what they want, to get power. Liberals are some of the most greedy people there are. They say, it's time for people to pay their fair share. Okay, well, here's the thing. There are more people they say, well, there's a lot of people who are extremely rich, and they need to pay their fair share. In most circumstances, people who are rich, they pay more in taxes. Why? Well, they pay more in taxes because people who are in government think that these big people who make so much money, well, they think, oh, they need to pay a lot of money. So they tax them so much that there have been people who have been very wealthy and they're not wealthy anymore. Why? Well, because of the taxes on them. Hillary Clinton claims that if the people who earn the top most amounts of money in our country pay their fair share, that they would be able to give everyone free college. Here's the thing. She's one of the top earners in our country. She still hasn't paid her fair share. So, and on the Republican side, the whole party's messed up, but we have a candidate who he definitely wants change. People say, well, he just cares about himself. He comes across that way. He's not actually that way. He's a businessman. That's what happens. People are like, well, running the government's not like running a business because, he's filed for bankruptcy so many times. Yeah, well, here's the thing. Bankruptcy isn't always a bad thing. There are different types of bankruptcy. He's never filed for bankruptcy that says, I have no money. Help me. I have no money. I'm completely broke. He's never done that. He's just had a lot of debt. That is the only bankruptcy he's ever had. And it was more than he could make. And so I was looking into the Libertarian candidates, Gary Johnson and Bill Weld, who I thought were okay people. I thought, okay, well, these people can stand up for liberty, stand up for freedom, limited government, basically take over the government and leave the people alone. But instead, I found out that these people are big government, for gun grabbing, and they're not what everybody thought they were. And I know there's people out there who really like them. I know there's people out there who love the third-party candidates. And I think it's amazing that we've had this two-party system for such a long time that people think, well, that's how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be that way. And people say, well, if you vote for a third-party candidate, that's just going to send the vote to the Democrats. Not true. Also, people say, if you vote for a third party, it's throwing off the whole two-party system. The whole two-party system is actually a relatively newer thing. There have been 3, maybe 4 different parties before, but only a few parties have ever won the presidency. Why? Because they were the ones that were the loudest. If you yell something loud enough for a long enough amount of time, people will start believing it. And so, I was looking into Gary Johnson. And I know that he's big government, and he's basically a liberal. But he calls himself a libertarian. He calls himself a good, honest person. When, in reality, I don't think he is. I feel like he just serves to try to appease everyone while he's running for president, to try to make everybody happy. And that's not that's not the way it's supposed to be. Now, on the other hand, his running mate, who would be his vice president, Bill Weld, who, here's something interesting. The Green Party, they've nominated a woman. The Green Party is weird stuff. And I don't remember his name, but her running mate has been very, very loud against, in the Green Party, movement, nobody really cares, about Gary Johnson's vice president. By the way, I saw something on Facebook yesterday that made me laugh. It said, it's like, he did like a thing, Feel the Burn. Gary Johnson decided to do a thing and start a Facebook page called Feel the Johnson. Now, I don't really, I feel like it's supposed to be a weird sexual, and there's a lot of ambiguity behind that, sort of, statement, but we're just going to move on from that. We're going to talk about Bill Weld, Gary Johnson's vice president. He is on gun control. Well, let me tell you who he is first. Gary Johnson used to be the governor of New Mexico. William Bill Weld used to be the governor of Massachusetts, which right there should tell you something. Massachusetts. Here's the thing about Massachusetts. Massachusetts it's the most liberal you can get. Some of the most wealthy people live there. But it's liberal. And if you're liberal, it's bad to be greedy. You shouldn't have money. You should be all poor. You should all rely on the government. If you're successful in business, you didn't do it on your own. So Bill Weld is Gary Johnson's running mate. He says he says he has some fiscal conservative ideas, and those showed as his time as governor. He also has a statist streak, which should make libertarians run, because that is not what the libertarians stand for. It is against what the libertarians stand for. So here is Bill Weld's ideas on gun control. He's a gun grabber. He says, with voters growing increasingly fearful of gunfire in the streets, he reversed a course in Massachusetts and proposed some of the most stringent gun control laws in the country. His ideas on eminent domain. Like Donald Trump, Bill Weld believes in the power of the state to take land for private developers. When running for governor of New York, the patrician this doesn't make sense. What does this mean? The patrician Weld explained Okay, anyway, he explained he would use power of eminent domain to seize private property for the good of a select few. This is exactly what the liberals do. They target certain things to be able to use it only for a select few, for it to only benefit a few people. That is how they work. His ideas on affirmative action. When debate swirled around ending many federal affirmative action programs during the 1990s, then Governor Wells stood firmly with the statists who wanted to keep them. Environmental regulations. Weld was a supporter of stricter environmental regulations being promulgate. He was very, he was for things being done by the EPA. Anyway, in 1997, he joined Governor Whitman of New Jersey in publishing the EPA to establish, in pushing the EPA to establish stricter limits on smog. In 1994, Weld led his administration in pushing for the EPA to require an electric car mandate. And as it says here, which I'm reading from an article, he was a supporter of Obama, but it says full-throated endorsement of Barack Obama. However, apparently they don't understand or see the disgusting sexual connotations behind full-throated endorsement. Just like Bernie Sanders at the national convention. They were like, oh, well, he got up there and he gave a full-throated endorsement of Hillary Clinton. Full-throated endorsement? If I have to hear somebody say full-throated endorsement one more time, I'm going to puke. It's madness. It's just disgusting. Anyway, let me read this real quick. This full-throated endorsement of Barack Obama. Only a statist would ever have endorsed Barack Obama over John McCain, who was hardly an orthodox conservative in 2008. Obama was already known to be a radical leftist in 2008 when Weld endorsed him. There is nothing remotely libertarian about Barack Obama. See, I assumed that the Libertarians were our only last hope for our country. Now I realize that they're not the answers. And the only answer that I can understand, that I know that makes sense, is that we have to have truth. Truth is that God gave us this country. And I believe that we are going to be held in a way responsible for what we allow to happen to this country. If we allow this country to have all of these anti-American, anti-Christian rhetoric going on, then it will be the end of us. Why is it that we want to push God out of everything? Why is it that, for some reason, everybody tends to have this weird thing where they just don't like Christians? And people think, okay, well, where do we go? What do we do? What is the answer? Well, the answer is, it's not violence. There's so much violence going on. And I think some people believe that they are doing what they need to do. But that doesn't make it right. That makes it more wrong. Because morally, we know that is wrong. We know it's wrong to kill people with knives. We know that it's morally wrong to kill gay Syrian refugees. We know that it's wrong to say that you are a libertarian, but you really are for big government. And we know that it's wrong to lie to the American people. Has there ever been a Democratic president who has told the truth? I believe that a lot of the ideas of making Republicans look like liars, make them look bad, started way back. Because it used to not be like this. And then we had a guy named Richard Nixon. And he did lie to the American people. He said he's not a crook. Even though we found out that was a lie. But he resigned. Why? Because he knew morally that what he did was wrong with Watergate. He knew that it was wrong. So he resigned. There has to come a time where we uphold truth, we stand on that truth, and anything that is not truthful will not withstand the test of time. Well, that's all the time that we have for today. Don't forget to share the show. There's somebody, of course, that needs to hear this voice of liberty. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Zach_Halcox, Instagram, Zach_Halcox, and on Facebook, just search Zach Halcox. And don't forget to share this with somebody. Don't forget that you can get more information on our website at ZachHalcox.com. Amazing things are happening with the show, and the show can only keep going and growing with your support, with you sharing the show with somebody. And if you do your part, I'll keep doing my part, and I'll see you next time.